and welcome to another episode of the Tar Heels Insider Podcast. I'm your host, Grant Chachere, bringing you all the latest news in regards to your Tar Heels. And, of course, it's a bye week, very, very slow week. As I've mentioned before, we got a lot of great articles coming out now, a lot of basketball, right? Because basketball's starting to pick up. They've already started practice, their preseason practice and everything. A lot of stuff about basketball coming out in the next, week or two, but I'll really just lead up to basketball season. Of course, we're 2 weeks away, a little under 2 weeks away from the ACC tip-off, which we will attend, and really, really excited about that. It's my first. I wasn't able to go to the ACC kickoff. I was moving to Chapel Hill, and I was just moved to Chapel Hill. I didn't get my credentials. Of course, we didn't get the credentials time because I just got hired, and also didn't have my car. So at that time, we didn't end up going. So the tip-off will be the first one to go to, and really excited for that, of course, because it's ACC basketball, right? I mean, ACC basketball a little more prestigious than ACC football, right? Just in terms of the prestige, because you got basketball, you got Carolina, of course, Duke, NC State. And really, it's going to be very interesting because Will Wade is going to be there and at NC State now. So it'll be very interesting for college basketball in the Triangle. And, of course, you can't forget about Louisville. They look like they're going to be very good. And there's a lot of great storylines across the ACC in terms of basketball. So I'm really excited for that. And, but we're still in football season. And I know people don't really want to talk about football right now because of, they've been struggling. And I mean, they're the worst offense in college football. They are. They're 132nd, 134th team, but they're the worst Power 4 offense to me. And to me, that's the worst offense in college football. I mean, it really is. But, nobody wants to talk about. But, we still got to talk about football. We still have to talk about football somehow, some way. And even though the Tar Heels are not playing this week, let's go around the ACC just for fun. You can't really blame me. There's nothing much to talk about for football this week. We have to talk about what's going across the ACC, and I think it's very interesting. Also, some of the teams that are playing are either teams are going to play down the road, so you might be interested in watching, and number two, there's some hate watch games available. There are. So let's break them down, okay? Start with number one. Florida State at Virginia on Friday night, 7 o'clock. So, of course, Florida State is coming in, number 18 in the country. Of course, they started off the season with a big bang, right? They beat Alabama. And, yes, the jury's still out if Alabama is really that good or not. But still, it's a solid win for this program because, remember, last year they were absolute booty. So it was a huge win for the Seminoles, right? 31-17. I mean, they beat them by 2 touchdowns. And then, of course, the last 2 weeks, they've outscored their opponents. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Hey, Siri, what is 77 plus 66? 143-13, right? They beat East Texas A&M 77-3, and then they beat Kent State last week 66-10. So this Virginia game would be their first test as Alabama. Virginia is a very good team, right? And we'll get to them in a second. But let's talk about Florida State. So the 3 games, Tommy Cassiano's passed for nearly 600 yards, 71.1 completion percentage with 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. All right, and then rushing-wise, they got 5 guys over 100 yards of rushing. Mekhi Danzy, he's a receiver, had 5 carries for 173 yards and 3 touchdowns. Samuel Singleton has 14 carries for 168 yards, an average of 12 yards a carry, and then 3 touchdowns. Gavin Sawchuk, I think it's Sawchuk, yeah, I might be right. But 25 carries for 160 yards and 6.4 yards per carry with 5 touchdowns, which is a team high. And, of course, Tommy Cassiano's 27 carries for 139 yards, 5.1 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns. And the other guy, Osman Kroma, 16 carries for 111 yards, 6.9 yards per carry. No touchdowns, but still solid numbers. So it was a great rushing attack. And really, I said this before on the podcast. Florida State, of course, their offensive coordinator is Gus Malzahn. Gus Malzahn is, of course, one of the great play callers in college football today. Not only just today, but just in history. He has really changed the way we look at college football. He was one of the first ones to bring this the no huddle spread to the SEC at a time when that was kind of foreign to a lot of teams in the SEC, because a lot of them were still running pro style offenses and slowing it down and playing defense, which they still do to a degree today. But at the time, it was unheard of, right? But he changed the way the offense is being run in SEC and college football, but also he's brought that to Florida State. And really, I've said this before on the podcast. North Carolina should be, if you have Gio Lopez as a starting quarterback, the offense that Florida State is running, that's the offense you should be running. But that's Bill Belichick and Freddie Kitchens for you right there. That's what they should be running. Just in terms of just the skill set you have. You have a running quarterback, and you also have a decent running back in DeMond June. He's a true freshman. So that's just my thoughts on that aspect, just because it's very clear that they need to change everything in regards to their offense. And that's been something that's been talked about on this podcast, through any of our articles, basically anywhere where you find North Carolina content that's been talked about. So I'll leave it there. But Florida State also has the 21st best defense in college football, only allowing 248 yards per carry. So you got a great offense and a great defense, great complementary football. On the other hand, Virginia, they're hosting Florida State, and Virginia is a much better team than they were last year. And a lot of that is because of the addition of Chandler Morris. Chandler Morris has been one of the best quarterbacks, not only in the ACC, but around college football. He's thrown for over 1,000 yards with 8 touchdowns and only 1 interception, and has completed nearly 71% of his passes. They got 2 running backs that have rushed for over 200 yards. One is Jamari Taylor, who's at 48 carries for 298 yards, which is 6.2 yards per carry, and a team high 6 touchdowns. So he's going to break the 300. He could break the 400-yard mark in this Florida State game, because he only needs 102 yards to do so. And then Harrison Whaley, who has 26 carries for 214 yards, which is 8.2 yards per carry with 4 touchdowns. So great passing attack and rushing attack. And also Terrell Harris, wide receiver Terrell Harris, 321 yards with 3 touchdowns, and Cam Ross and Jamal Edrine. Cam Ross is 252 yards with a touchdown. Jamal Edrine has 169 yards with a touchdown. So great passing attack, great rushing attack. Their only downfall really is defense. So far, I think they allowed 35 points against NC State, and really they should be 4-0. They should have beat that NC State team. They should be NC State. NC State's a very good team too, so not going to discredit them. But Virginia, they had them. That was a game that they should have won. And there's a lot of people in Virginia who will tell you the same thing. Virginia was leading 24-14 at the half, and then they allowed 21 points. They outscored 21-7 in the third quarter, which ended up being the final margin, 35-31. So that was a game that Virginia really should have won. They led by 10 points. Anytime you lose by double digits at halftime, you lose. That's a game you should have won. Period. But Virginia's a very good team, so it'd be very that game would be very, very interesting. Just because Virginia's a much better team, and really this is Florida State's first test since the Alabama game. So I think it'd be a very intriguing matchup. I think it's probably the best matchup of the weekend. Louisville at Pitt. That's another one I really like. Louisville Pitt. Louisville is undefeated right now. They're one of a few undefeated teams left in the ACC. Of course, right now, the only teams that are left standing in terms of undefeated teams in the ACC are, of course, Georgia Tech, Miami, Florida State, and Louisville. So those are the only teams that are left that are undefeated in the ACC right now. And Louisville really hasn't gotten off to a strong start this year, as much as they wanted to. I mean, they've beaten Eastern Kentucky, James Madison, Bowling Green, but really in that game against James Madison, they kind of struggled, right? Um, and offensively, they have some issues with their offense. Uh, Miller Moss has thrown for 690 yards with 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I mean, he really hasn't been playing all that well as much as Louisville want him to. Luckily, you have a guy like Isaac Brown, who is a All-American caliber running back. 19 carries for 248 yards, averaging 13.1 yards per carry. He's a dude. He is a legit dude, one of the best running backs in the country coming into this year. A lot of people had a lot of good things to say about Isaac Brown. I mean, the guy is a dude. Last year he ran for 1,173 yards with 11 touchdowns. So, I mean, he's a really, really good player for Louisville. So, I mean, while Miller Moss is struggling, it's a good thing to have a guy like Isaac Brown. However, you're going up against a Pitt team. Yes, they are 2-1 with their one loss coming against West Virginia, the backyard brawl. They're still a very good team. Eli Holstein is back for the Pitt Panthers. He's completed 66% of his passes for 822 yards with 9 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Also, just want to mention out that Eli Holstein is from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So shout out my man from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. New Orleans right here, 504. Boot baby, let's go. I gotta brag about my boot babies, okay? Gotta brag about them. All right. So Desmond Reed also is a running back for them. 24 carries, 142 yards with a touchdown. He's the leading rusher. Got a lot of good players. Pitt, has dealt with some inconsistency over the few years. I mean, other than their ACC championship year, Pitt is always kind of been an up and down team. Even last year, I think they started 7-0, and then they proceeded to lose. I think 4 of their last 5 games. 4. They proceeded to lose. Oh damn! They lost 6 straight games after they started 7-0. Yeah, so I mean, they've been an up and down team, but that's usually how Pitt's been under Pat Narduzzi. Outside of the year they won the ACC championship, they've been kind of up and down season. So up and down team. So I think that game interests me because you got 2 really good teams, and I think they're the 2 best teams in terms of matchups. They have the 2 best teams: Florida State, Virginia, and Louisville at Pitt. Then you got 2 hate watch games, right? You got Duke at Syracuse. Of course, Duke has one of the best quarterbacks in the not only in the ACC but in the country. Where Darian Mensah, I mean, he is in the top 10 in almost every single category. He's been awesome this year for the Blue Devils. I mean, they've had one of the best passing attacks in the country, and really, Darian Mensah is. And I mentioned this I think I mentioned this in the podcast, but I know I definitely mentioned this in my Duke preview article, which I wrote before the season, kind of going around the AC, looking at different teams that UNC will be playing, right? Of course. And Darian Mensah, the only game where he didn't complete 300 yards of passing was against NC State last week, where he threw for 269 yards, which is still a very good amount. Darian Mensah has thrown for 1,305 yards with 11 touchdowns and just 2 interceptions. If you want to put this in perspective, Malik Murphy, who was the starting quarterback last year, who really, I mean, let's be honest, Darian Mensah is an upgrade over Malik Murphy. Malik Murphy last year for Duke threw for around this time just about the same, but also threw for less yards and also threw 4 interceptions during that time. So Darian Mensah is more of an efficient quarterback than Malik Murphy was. Also thrown for more yards too. So that's, I mean, he's really been instrumental with Duke. I mean, really, the only reason why Duke is even 2-2 right now is because of Darian Mensah, because the defense has been struggling as of late. Something to watch out for in this game. And then also because, they really don't have the strongest running game in the world. They got a decent running game, but their leading rusher right now is a true freshman running back who his name is Nate Shepard. And, of course, I have to mention this. from Mandeville, Louisiana, which is only 30 minutes away, 40 to 45 minutes from New Orleans, which is where I'm from, across the North Shore. So, yes, another boot baby. I got to support them. Got to shout out them. Not many of us out here in ACC country, especially in the state of North Carolina, so I have to give him a shout out, okay? Also, great kid, by the way. Sorry to our Hood fans, but he's a great kid. I know him, covered him in high school, so yeah, sorry. I got to mention that. Sorry. But anyway, they're playing at Syracuse. And this is a very interesting matchup. Syracuse, of course, is a very tough place to play. Syracuse is also without their starting quarterback in Stephen Jelly, right? So Ricky Collins, who, by the way, is from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, got Shama Boo babies. God, how many Louisiana guys are there? Damn. But anyway, doesn't matter. Ricky Collins will be starting. It'll be his first start ever as a college quarterback. Of course, he transferred in from LSU after last season. So it'll be very interesting to see how he gets going, how comfortable he is with that system, taking over for a guy like Stephen Jelly, who's been balling out for the Orange this year. Of course, there's a huge factor in why they beat Clemson last week. But this would be a tough matchup. Duke's a very good team. I really like their team because just their makeup. Darian Mensah is a great quarterback. So it'll be very interesting to see if Ricky Collins can match up with Darian Mensah. And then also, and really got two great coaches. Like Manny Diaz is a solid coach. Always been a solid coach. I know it didn't really work in Miami, but he's a solid coach, right? Solid, a great defensive play caller, solid coach. He's not a bad coach at all. And then Fran Brown has done an awesome job at Syracuse, doing more with less. Last year they went 10-3, finished in the top 25. This season they're 3-1. They beat Clemson in Death Valley, which even I know Clemson's not very good. Still a solid win because Death Valley is a very tough place to go get a win. So you got mention that. But also like Fran Brown, let's say and really to be honest with you, it's kind of crazy how Fran Brown, if you look at his contract, he's doing more with less, and he's not getting paid seriously the same amount as Bill Belichick. So, and that's something that was brought up. Which podcast was it? I think it may have been Bomani Jones's podcast where he was talking with Spencer Hall. I think they mentioned that, something like that, because Fran Brown's contract is actually relatively small compared to the rest of the schools, coaches in the ACC. So it's very, very interesting. And then, of course, your other hate watch match is, of course, Virginia Tech and NC State, which I don't even want to dig into that much because Virginia Tech is not very good. And also NC State, CJ Bailey is a very good quarterback. Hollywood Smothers, very good running back. A great offense, so-so defense. That's all I'm going to break down because NC State is going to whoop the living socks off of Virginia Tech. The other games you have to watch are for Georgia Tech and Wake Forest. Georgia Tech, of course, the number 18 team in the country. Wake Forest, I can't get a good reason for Wake Forest. We'll see after this game. But we do know that Damon Claiborne is one of the best running backs in the ACC. And then Robbie Ashford, yes, he can't really throw the ball, but he can run. So very interesting matchup in Winston-Salem. Also, Winston-Salem's always kind of one of those trap places to play. Even if it's only 30,000, even though it's only a 30,000 stadium, for some reason, schools and AC in recent memory just have a tough time trying to win there. You also got Cal at Boston College. Two of the best quarterbacks right now in the ACC going at it with Cal, with Jerron. I'm not even going to pronounce his name. Oh boy, that's the thing about these names is that I don't want to pronounce them because I don't want to, because it's also like, one is a hard name to pronounce, and then also because of they're Polynesian, so I don't know how to pronounce his name. It's Jerron K. Sago Polu Tele, but we'll call him JKS. JKS, really good quarterback, 988 yards with 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. And then, of course, you got Dylan Lonergan of Boston College, one of the best quarterbacks in the ACC, despite Boston College kind of having a kind of year, not the maybe that they wanted. But then, of course, you got San Jose State at Stanford. That is the last ACC game in I'm not even going to bother covering that. It's San Jose State at Sanford. They're both on the Pacific Coast. They're not even on the Atlantic Coast, so we're not even going to talk about that. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. Just want to go around the ACC because there's really not much to talk about in regards to UNC. I think we've talked about that in full already because it's a bye week, right? We've already talked about the offense and the defense earlier this week. Of course, Jeremiah Toch has done a great job. And, of course, Corey Davis and Sienna A's have also done a great job covering them as well. They started, by the way, they started 2 weeks ago in the kind of the middle of the non-conference slate. And they've done a great job. And they've gotten adjusted fairly fast. And I'm really proud of them, by the way. So I just want to give a shout out to them. But thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a great rest of your day.